Hello again, 6th grade. This is our lesson for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this current week. We are starting on page 204. We are going to be talking about the prepositional phrase used as an adjective. We're going to go from page 204, which is also lesson 126, all the way to page 206, lesson 127, so not that far. You also have a quiz that I am including a video on how to access. It's on Sycamore under the Documents tab. There is a video attached to this same email message, and also on the online syllabus on Sycamore. If you need to know how to access that quiz, it's on there for you to print out and take after you finish your work for the week. Okay, so prepositional phrases used as adjectives. A prepositional phrase, we've reviewed this a little bit before, but we haven't fully gotten into prepositional phrases. We've talked about that a preposition is anything a Smurf can do to a mushroom. That is a silly way to remember it. However, it does stick in your brain. You don't forget it. A Smurf can be on a mushroom. A Smurf can be in the mushroom. A Smurf can be under the mushroom. The Smurf can be around the mushroom. The Smurf can be with the mushroom. Any kind of word that shows a relationship between two objects, okay, is a preposition, and the phrase is the group of words that begins with that prepositional word: in, around, beneath, with, from, and ends with the noun or the pronoun that it's relating to something else in the sentence. That noun or pronoun is called the object of the preposition. It is always a noun or a pronoun. We're specifically going to be talking about these kinds of phrases that are used as adjectives, which mean they're going to, as a whole phrase, describe a noun in the sentence. What do I mean by that? Let's look at this first example. If I started my sentence with something like the fisherman, I can describe him with a prepositional phrase like this: the fisherman with the yellow rain jacket. If I can spell correctly. Okay, the fisherman with the yellow rain jacket. I'm not going to put a period. That's not the end of my sentence. You can see with is that prepositional word. It's a relationship telling the relationship between the fisherman and his rain jacket. And the whole thing is an adjective describing the fisherman. Which fisherman? The one with the yellow rain jacket. We could also say the fisherman inside the store. Okay? Yet another prepositional phrase. Which fisherman? The one inside the store. Our preposition is inside, tells the relationship between the fisherman and the store, and our object of the preposition is store. It's the noun directly after the preposition. Yellow rain jacket was the noun after our preposition here with. So, those are just a few examples of prepositional phrases that modify the noun. Now, modify also, means describe. We use those interchangeably. So your exercise on page 204 is you're going to practice giving me an entire prepositional phrase, so not just one adjective word, but a whole prepositional phrase that's going to describe these things. So let's try number one. Let's look. The lighthouse. How could you describe the lighthouse? Using a preposition. Here's my example. The lighthouse on the cliff, because that's what it is on the picture. On is my preposition, cliff is my object of the preposition, so there's my prepositional phrase, and it's describing which lighthouse? The one on the cliff. So you can have some practice with that. Complete page 205. It's a little bit more practice of finding those prepositional phrases and drawing a line back to the word that they describe. And last part of today's lesson is going to be diagramming adjective modifiers. So let's talk about that. These diagrams that you guys like to do. Just kidding. I know you guys don't love doing diagrams. However, they are helpful in figuring out what the different parts of a sentence are. That is their use. So let's talk about that today. Okay, we learned predicate adjectives. That is a type of complement, right? You learned about that earlier on this week. That was in my first video. okay? The way we diagram these predicate adjectives is, you guessed it, exactly like the way we diagram the predicate nominatives. You guys have seen this before, where we put the subject, the verb, and then on the line, on the same line with a slanted line pointing back to that subject, because remember, it's describing that subject, we are going to do our predicate adjective. This is also where you put a predicate noun when it refers back to the subject, right? So no difference. This is for a predicate adjective. You guys also know, we've already done this, that if we have an adjective describing one of these nouns, then we just write it on a line touching the noun that it describes. So that's just a regular old how to diagram an adjective. Okay, so now you know how to do a predicate adjective. It's right here. And a regular adjective touches the word it describes, the noun that it describes. If we have an adjective phrase, one of those prepositional phrases that is also considered an adjective because it's describing the noun, these are a little bit, there's like an extra step. They're not hard. Many of you already came to me knowing how to do this. You are simply, let's say this sentence. Okay, someone in the room coughed. Verb, coughed. This is the action. Who coughed? Someone. That's our subject. In the room is a prepositional phrase. I know because in is a preposition, okay? It is an adjective phrase describing which someone? Which someone? The one in the room, okay? So I'm going to write my diagram like this. Someone coughed. And then since this is an adjective phrase describing someone, it's going to look like this. You're going to put the preposition on a line looking like an adjective to show that it's describing someone, okay? Wrong line. Right here. And then off of that, you're going to draw a straight line, and you're going to write the object of the preposition on that line. Remember, it is the noun or the pronoun that comes right after the preposition, which in this case is room. That's the only noun. The is not a noun. We know the is an adjective. We learned that already. And the describes which room. We know articles are always adjectives describing the word that comes directly after them. So the goes underneath room. This is how we diagram a prepositional phrase that's being used as an adjective. Preposition goes on the adjective line, touching someone, showing that it's describing someone. Room is its object of the preposition. It goes on the horizontal line. And then the is an adjective describing room, so it goes on a line touching room. This is the way that we diagram any adjective phrase. Even if, let's say you had an object of you had a prepositional phrase describing a predicate nominative. Think through that. A predicate nominative. Okay? Then instead of touching the subject like it did here, it would touch where the predicate nominative is. Okay? So just be careful and make sure those prepositional phrases touch wherever they belong, whatever word that they belong to in the sentence. If you have a compound predicate adjective, you know that looks just like a compound predicate nominative. Subject, verb, and then anytime we have a compound anything, right, we do a rocket. Compound means more than one thing joined together. Your joining word goes on this line. Conjunction. All right? Same thing here. It's just a rocket if you have more than one. Only other thing I think that we need to talk about is if there is a compound object of the preposition. Someone in the room coughed. Let's say that there was more than one object. You would, instead of drawing just one horizontal line here, say that someone in the room and outside, or let's say someone in the room and pool, okay? Someone in the room and pool. They were both in the room and pool. Let's add that. Then you would need a rocket, and you would write room, pool, and you would write and here. The would go under that, and the would go under this, because the room and the pool, they both have the. So just remember that rocket is for if you have a compound, something, more than one thing joined together with and, always. So, page 206, I'm going to diagram 1 through 4 for you really quickly, and then you're going to do 5 through 12 for homework. By the way, if you don't get a note down, you guys, I know you love to take notes, you can always pause the video. Not like in class where you have to write super fast until I'm done. Okay, you should have your book in front of you. You should be looking at number 1. The president of our class is honest and friendly. Verb, the action is. That is a linking verb. Who is? President is. So that is my subject. Okay. Now that I know of a linking verb, I'm going to use the equals test. President equals honest and friendly. Those are both adjectives, not nouns, so those are predicate adjectives. The is an adjective describing president because it comes right before it. And then the last part of the sentence is of our class is a prepositional phrase starting with the preposition of and ending with its object class. So you can put those in parentheses and draw a line back to president because they actually describe president. So now that we have that labeled, our diagram looks like this. And we have 2 predicate adjectives. Notice my slanted line, they refer back to the subject. Okay, honest and friendly. President equals honest and friendly. All right, then we have an adjective describing president. We also have an adjective phrase of class, and our describes whose class. So here is number 1. You can always pause these and try to label them yourself and then check answers next. All right. The red tulips and yellow daffodils are pretty. What is our action? Are. Is that action or linking? It's actually linking because it's a being verb. So you're going to underline that twice. That's the verb. What are? Tulips and daffodils. Those are our subjects. Since we have a linking verb, I'm going to do the equals test and see if there's a noun or an adjective that refers back to them. Tulips, daffodils equal pretty. You're right. So that is our describer. That's a predicate adjective. It's not a noun. And then we have the and red both describe tulips, and yellow describes daffodils. Okay, so here we have a compound subject. Again, remember, compound means we need a rocket. So okay, our predicate adjective is pretty. Extend my line. And then we have several adjectives. We have the and red, both adjectives describing tulips. And we have yellow under daffodils. And I think that's it. We're done. give us a ride to the zoo and the museum. Gave is my verb, that's my action. It is an action verb, it's not linking. Who gave? Mom did, Mom gave. So that's my subject. Since I have an action verb, I'm looking for a direct object. Mom gave what? Ride, that's my direct object. To whom or what? Us, that's my indirect object. And then I have A as an article. It's always an adjective describing the word right after it, so it's describing ride. And then to the zoo and the museum is a prepositional phrase starting with the preposition to, and it actually has two objects. It has zoo and museum. Those are both the nouns right after it. And these describe which ride, the ride to the zoo and the ride to the museum. So that's an adjective prepositional phrase. All right, so let's get started on this one. I'm going to do it right here so I have plenty of room. Mom gave, how nice of Mom. All right, and then remember, direct object goes on the same line, but instead of a slanted line, it has a straight up and down line. And then the indirect object actually doesn't go under ride, it goes under the verb. So it's going to have a slanted line and then a straight out line like this that says us. That's the indirect object. And then A goes under ride, it's an adjective describing the ride. And then to the zoo and the museum is also an adjective describing ride. So I'm going to write to. And then remember, it's a compound object. Museum. The is an adjective describing it. And zoo, actually those could be flip-flopped. Zoo could go on top. Just like that. There's my preposition, here's my objects and the adjectives that describe them. Last one I'm going to do with you right now is the study of ants can be informative and interesting. I'm going to erase number 1. Okay. My action is can be. It's a verb phrase, has a helper. It's also linking. It's a linking verb. What can be? Study can be. That's my subject. All right, study equals, the equals to us since it's linking, study equals informative and interesting. Okay, so those are my predicate adjectives. The is an adjective describing study because it's an article. And then of ants is a prepositional phrase starting with of the preposition, ending with the object of the preposition ants. And they described, you guessed it, the study. Which study? Of ants, the one of ants. All right, so we have our subject and the adjective that describes it. We have another of ants is the prepositional phrase describing study. Can be is my verb, and then I have a compound predicate adjective, so my slanted line showing that it's referring back to study. These are my predicate adjectives, joined by and. And there is number 4. So your job is to finish 5 through 12 for homework. You also have quiz 12. Again, that is also a video that's uploaded on the syllabus and will be attached to the email as well so that you guys know where to pull up your quiz, to print it out and take it. All of this will be due Monday the 23rd. If you have not yet, please have Mom or Dad take pictures of your work from last week and either text them to me or email them to me. They are due today, but I will be accepting them tomorrow and maybe into Wednesday as well for those parents who are still trying to get used to our new system since we're not at school. I can't wait to see you guys again soon, praying for each of you, and I will see you soon.